people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure
our freedoms, our rights,
It can't make this shit up.
If any of my Canadian viewers out there knows anyone working at the Board of Tourism for Canada, I am hireable. I am ready to work. Just tell them to shoot me an email or DM me on Twitter. Guys, what's going on? It's January 30th, 2022, Sunday afternoon, about to be a big day of football. But of course, we are here talking AMC. I put that in the intro because I know my demographics. I know about 10% of my viewership is from Canada. And I just want to make sure that everyone out there knows that everyone's voice counts. And I'm all about individual rights and liberties and the Constitution. And so I'm backing up my Canadian brothers and sisters. But of course, we got to get into AMC, so let's do that. Before we get way too far ahead of ourselves,
cue the speeders.
All right, guys, real quick, before we jump into this, I just want to say we almost had 400 likes on the last video, which is the most we've had in I don't know how long. So I want to thank you guys, whoever's out there hitting the like button. I try not to bring it up because I know it's a pain in the ass. But thank you so much for helping the algorithm, man. I appreciate you guys doing that, taking the time to hit a like button. All right, so let's talk about the box office. In 2020, we hit a 40-year low on box office revenue at $2.2 billion. Now, we were in the midst of a pandemic at the time. The movies weren't that great that came out that year, and they held back a lot of releases, Hollywood did, from coming to the big screen because of low theater numbers and fear of catching the Rona. Now, it's not too often that we get to talk about fundamentals for AMC because they haven't been there in the past. But we are coming up to Q4 numbers, the earnings and revenue for Q4. We're going to know them in about, 6 to 8 weeks. And those of you who've been following me for a while know that Disney and Warner Brothers have made exclusive deals with AMC, and the amount of time they're going to wait before releasing blockbusters to the streaming services. Now, this is all bullish for AMC. My issue with Hollywood and the theater industry is the movies themselves, the quality of the movies. Now, if we look back at the top 10 films of 2020, you're going to see some things that they have in common. First of all, the top 10 grossing movies of 2020 were Spider-Man No Way Home, Shang-Chi, Venom, Black Widow, Fast and Furious, Eternals, No Time to Die, A Quiet Place Part 2, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and 20th Century's A Free Guy. Now, half of those movies, or more than half, are MCU titles. So it's Marvel, it's got a huge base of fans already set up, and they released 2 giant movies this year, or at least one actual enormous blockbuster, which was Spider-Man, that brought in most of the revenue for Q4 of 2021. Now, for 2022, one of the big anticipated films was supposed to be the 355, but this unfortunately ended up being a box office flop. It has a bunch of stars in it: Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o, Penelope Cruz, Diane Kruger, and the movie couldn't even bring home $5 million in its opening weekend. And it is way behind right now as far as catching up to what they spent to produce this movie. I'm going to try to smoothly transition here from the 355 to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Lucasfilm. In the top 100 grossing films of all time, 26 of them are either Marvel or Star Wars related. Now, for those of you who might be MCU or Star Wars fans, particularly Star Wars fans, you've been pretty accustomed to Kathleen Kennedy and the tight ship that she runs over at Lucasfilm since Disney purchased the company from George Lucas back in 2015. So back in 2020, Kathleen Kennedy and the rest of Lucasfilm came out with announcements about all of the new projects that are coming forward in the future for Star Wars. And out of all the projects that they announced, there was one film, Rogue Squadron. And now the only film we had to look forward to, remember, this is a franchise that has some of the top grossing films of all time at the box office. The only project we have announced for a film is something that's 3 years down the road, and now it's possible it's not even happening. Patty Jenkins, who directed Wonder Woman 1984, because of these creative differences, it's possible that we're not getting this movie either, as well as Rian Johnson's canceled Star Wars trilogy. Thank God that happened. And let me just say this, I got no smoke for female directors. I got no smoke for Patty Jenkins or Kathleen Kennedy or Daisy Ridley, because Rey sucked as a character, not her as the actress. It has nothing to do with gender or color or any of that. The stories are terrible, or as we're seeing right now, non-existent. What are you watching if you're a Star Wars fan? You're watching Book of Boba Fett on Disney+, and the best episode so far this season was Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 0. Now, this show has been pretty controversial up until the last episode. People were saying that Boba Fett was neutered. Even Tamora Morrison, the star of the show, who plays Boba Fett in the show, came out and said he had a talk with Jon Favreau, telling him that Boba was speaking... Well, don't let me tell you.
Cue the video.
Look, I've got all these paragraphs here. I think we should get rid of it. And John's gone to Atlanta, so don't tell him.
Boba Fett. La Punichasa Karato.
So even the star of the show believes he's speaking too much based on his character's previous history. And can we just say real quick before I forget, how good does Ming-Na look for 58? Jeez. All right, guys, so why are we talking about this? Why am I bringing this up? Well, besides the fact that the new episode of Boba Fett came out, and it's calling back to The Mandalorian, and actually that was the most excited people have been for the show so far, says a lot. And the fact that Disney is refusing to capitalize on the IP makes me nervous going forward for the theater industry itself. I mean, why is it that there's no movies in the pipeline right now? Why is Kathleen Kennedy still allowed to run Lucasfilm when she's literally running it into the ground? I'm going to talk about and discuss this more in the future, but for my AMC crowd out there, I think in the short term, the fundamentals of AMC will be just fine. This year coming up, 2022, we got a lot of big releases coming out. Black Panther, Top Gun, The Batman, Uncharted, a second Avatar for the first time in like 20 years. So there are some things to look forward to. It's the long-term prospects that I'm thinking about when I'm talking about these issues. I don't know how long it's going to take until we MOASS. What is going to be the catalyst for that? So in the meantime, as we wait, I'll keep bringing stories to you guys and help you try to make informed decisions going forward. So don't forget about tonight. Everything is still on for the live stream at 7 o'clock. All right, guys, before I lose you to football, I just want to say thank you, as always, for all the likes, the views, the comments. My new subscribers, my OGs, I appreciate each and every one of you. We are here to break the wheel. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.
I love you motherfuckers, but sniffing dicks in the metaverse ain't good for your health. There's no way that ends well. Imagine you in therapy a couple of fucking years later. It's AMC. It started out good, and then Adam told us he's gonna give us a Spider-Man coin. And a couple of weeks later, I was sucking dick in the metaverse, and they didn't give me a tip. I can't, motherfuckers. You hold to 100,000. Let me tell you something.